beloved chosen one, tonight is not like any other night. Heaven has pressed pause on everything around you, just to draw your spirit into alignment with what has already been written about you before time began. You may have felt forgotten, unseen, or misplaced in a world that constantly overlooks the sacred. But this very moment is heaven's reminder that you were never invisible. You were hidden for a reason, reserved for a divine season. And that season begins now. Listen carefully, because this message is not coincidence. It is divine intervention. Everything that tried to break you, silence you, or convince you that you were unworthy has only confirmed one thing: you are chosen. You carry a fire that darkness cannot understand. And the enemy has spent years trying to make you doubt your own anointing. But God says tonight, enough. You are stepping into the activation of your hidden role. This is the midnight of transformation, the divine hour when sleeping destinies awaken. As the world turns quietly under the weight of night, your spirit stirs. Heaven moves differently when a chosen one rises. Angels begin to shift assignments. The spiritual realm trembles with the echo of your awakening. You were never meant to blend in, never designed to live small. You are not just another believer, you are a carrier of divine strategy. When you walk, dimensions recognize you. When you speak, realms respond. The reason life has felt heavy is because your calling is heavy, and the weight you carry is sacred. For years, your journey has been marked by delays, sudden endings, and unexpected isolation. But none of it was punishment, it was preparation. Heaven has been building you in secret, shaping you in silence, and anointing you away from applause. You thought you were being buried, but you were only being planted. The soil of your suffering has been rich with revelation, and now the first sprout of destiny begins to break through the surface of your waiting. Can you feel it? The air around you shifting, the spiritual climate responding to the vibration of your name being spoken in heavenly places. This is that moment where eternity and time intersect, where your obedience becomes the bridge between what was promised and what will manifest. Beloved, heaven's agenda is unfolding, and you are not a spectator, you are a participant. You were written into the prophecy of this generation. There are souls attached to your obedience. There are territories waiting for your yes. Every tear you cried was not wasted. It watered the soil of nations you will one day impact. Every time you refused to give up, angels recorded it as worship. And tonight, that record has reached heaven's throne. The Spirit is saying, get ready. Your assignment is no longer dormant. The gates of your destiny are opening. The hidden role, the one that's been sealed under spiritual warfare and divine timing, is now being activated. You are entering the season of unveiling, where your gifts will make sense, where your battles will reveal their purpose, and where your voice will carry the thunder of divine authority. As the ancient words declare in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1, arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. This is your call to rise, not tomorrow, not when it feels easy, but now. The glory is already descending, searching for the one who will believe without evidence, obey without full understanding, and move without fear. You have been chosen for this exact moment in history to carry a light that will pierce generations of darkness. There is a pulse in the heavens that matches the rhythm of your heartbeat, a signal that your name has been spoken in divine chambers. Every cell in your body begins to recognize the vibration of destiny, awakening you to the truth of who you are becoming. The mantle that once hovered above you now rests upon your shoulders. It feels heavy because it is holy, but within that sacred weight lies the authority to shift atmospheres, to rewrite legacies, and to summon light where shadows once reigned. Let the fire within you answer heaven's summons. Let your spirit echo with divine agreement. Yes, Lord, I am ready. The heavens are watching. The earth is groaning for the manifestation of the sons and daughters of God. And tonight, one of them, you has been activated. If this word reaches the depth of your spirit, don't scroll past it. Pause and seal it with action. Like this message as an act of alignment. Share it so the sound of awakening spreads to every corner it must reach. Subscribe and stay connected to the stream of divine messages being poured out in this season, because this is just the beginning of your unveiling. Now, chosen one, as a prophetic act, comment the number 777 below. That number symbolizes divine completion, heavenly perfection, and the fullness of God's timing. When you type it, you're not just commenting, you're agreeing with heaven that your hidden role has been activated, that this is the midnight of your rising, and that nothing can stop what God has already begun in you. Heaven is watching. The angels are ready. Your destiny is unfolding. Chosen one, you have felt it all, your life, the subtle difference, the invisible mark that set you apart long before you understood why. Even as a child, something within you stirred at the mention of destiny. You couldn't explain it, but deep down, you knew that you were not random. You were written. There was a seal upon your spirit, a divine fingerprint invisible to the natural eye, but unmistakable to the realm of darkness. You have carried that seal quietly, wondering why people could sense your difference, why rooms shifted when you entered, and why some could not stay close for long. It was not rejection, it was recognition. The light within you made the shadows uneasy. The purity of your calling disturbed what was counterfeit. Even before you understood warfare, the enemy recognized your name in the spirit. You were marked for kingdom business, and every battle you've faced since has been proof of that holy distinction. The storms were not punishment, they were attempts to erase the mark. But they failed, because what heaven seals, hell cannot unmark. There are those who carry gifts, and then there are those who carry assignments. You, beloved, carry both. You are not merely gifted, you are appointed. Every encounter, every loss, every betrayal was preparation for the unveiling of that appointment. The confusion you've endured was not a sign of weakness, but evidence that you were walking roads few ever find. You have been set apart by divine intention, and separation always precedes manifestation. When you felt misunderstood, it was because your language was spiritual while others spoke in logic. When you felt isolated, it was because heaven needed silence to refine your discernment. When you felt overlooked, it was because heaven was reserving your unveiling for its own perfect timing. Nothing about you was accidental, not your pain, not your fire, not even your tears. Everything has been curated by divine hands, shaping you into a vessel that can hold revelation without breaking. The mark upon your life is not just for protection, it is for purpose. It carries authority, an invisible signature of heaven's ownership. You have walked through places that should have crushed you, but that mark preserved you. You have faced words meant to destroy your confidence, but they could not erase your name from the scrolls of destiny. Every scar is proof that the anointing survived the attack, and every time you rose again, the seal of God grew brighter on your spirit. The Spirit whispered your name long before your parents ever did. Heaven signed your identity with divine ink, and the enemy has spent your entire life trying to make you question that signature. But tonight, you are being reminded you belong to God. You are chosen not by popularity, not by performance, but by purpose. The heavens recognize your voice. The angels know your sound. You carry a code, a heavenly frequency that commands spiritual attention. As was spoken in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 2, verse 19, the Lord knows those who are His. That truth is your anchor. Heaven knows you, even when the earth forgets you. God's recognition is worth more than the applause of millions. When you walk through darkness, heaven still calls you by your real name, not the one the world gave you, but the one written in light before creation began. That name carries weight. It opens doors no man can shut, and seals doors no man can force open. You are not here to chase validation. You are here to fulfill a mission. Your life is a declaration that divine ownership exists. When you move, principalities notice. When you pray, realms shift. And when you speak, atmospheres obey. You carry the DNA of obedience, the authority of one who has been chosen, crushed, and refined. This is why your battles have been so specific. The warfare attached to your name has always been personal, because hell fears what you carry. You are entering the stage of revelation, where the mark that was hidden becomes the source of your divine recognition. The world may not understand it, but those aligned with heaven will see it immediately. They will know you not by appearance, but by presence. When you enter a room, the atmosphere will testify before you speak. Your spirit will be known among those who are awakened. Beloved, the mark on your life is both shield and summons. It shields you from what was meant to destroy you, and it summons you toward what has been waiting for you. When others wander, you will be guided. When others hesitate, you will hear the whisper that says, "This is the way, walk in it." Every decision from this point must honor the mark. You cannot live casually with a sacred calling. Your assignment now is to carry this truth with reverence. You have been identified by heaven, and that identity demands alignment. The time for questioning your worth is over. The time for shrinking back to make others comfortable is done. Stand firm, for the mark upon your life is your divine passport into the next realm of your destiny. Let your heart settle into this truth. God has claimed you, refined you, and called you His own. That seal will never fade, not in this life, nor in the one to come. Chosen one. Waiting has never been easy for you. There is a deep ache that lingers in the soul of those who know they are called, but have not yet seen the full promise unfold. You have carried prophecies like fire locked inside fragile flesh, wondering when the words would come to pass. Every season of silence, every unanswered prayer, every door that stayed closed, it all felt like delay. But the truth is, heaven was never ignoring you. Heaven was incubating you. Your waiting was divine timing disguised as disappointment. Every pause had a purpose. The stillness you despised was God's workshop. While you thought nothing was moving, everything was being prepared behind the veil. The promises of God are not microwaved, they are slow-roasted in the fires of trust. It is in the waiting that your faith learns endurance, and endurance gives birth to unshakable power. Chosen one. Heaven does not rush destiny. The weight of your calling requires foundation. If it had come too soon, it would have crushed you. The delay was never denial, it was design. What seemed like silence was God rearranging your circumstances to ensure your promise would not arrive prematurely. The delay protected you from counterfeit opportunities, false alliances, and distractions sent to divert your purpose. You may not have realized it, but your waiting season was holy ground. Each moment you endured in faith was a seed planted in the soil of eternity. The pain was not wasted, it was woven into the story of your perseverance. Every tear watered the roots of what God was growing inside you. There are fruits of faith developing underground, unseen but alive. And soon, what has been hidden will emerge with unstoppable force. Your waiting refined your discernment. You learned to hear the whisper instead of chasing the noise. You learned that peace is louder than applause. You discovered that even when heaven seems silent, it is never still. The Spirit has been orchestrating divine alignments, positioning people and circumstances to meet you at the intersection of obedience and timing. As the ancient prophet declared in the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, verse 31, "Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength." There is power in those words. Chosen one. Waiting is not weakness, it is warfare. Every time you refuse to give up, you defeated an unseen enemy. Every time you kept believing, you activated heavenly intervention. Strength is not found in constant motion, it is found in surrender. When you rest in God's timing, you align yourself with divine rhythm, and no force on earth can rush or resist what heaven has ordained. Do you remember those nights you cried alone, whispering, "When?" Lord, heaven heard every word. But instead of responding with explanation, God responded with endurance. You grew through it. You became more than you were before the pain began. And now, every wound has become wisdom. Every delay has become direction. There is a rhythm to waiting one that trains your spirit to recognize God's pace. Destiny unfolds at the speed of surrender, not impatience. You cannot accelerate divine timing without damaging divine purpose. The waiting season is not a prison, it is preparation for flight. Like an arrow pulled back, you were drawn into tension only so you could be launched farther than you ever imagined. You will soon look back on this season and thank God it did not happen earlier, because now you have the strength to handle what you once only prayed for. Your spirit has grown stronger than your fear, and your discernment now outweighs your desire. That is how you know the waiting worked. Heaven has used every delay to build in you the endurance of the anointed, the resilience of the chosen, and the wisdom of the tested. There is one more truth to hold close sometimes. Waiting is God's way of letting the enemy exhaust himself. While you've been learning patience, the plans against you have been losing power. What once intimidated you will soon stand powerless before you. Your waiting has weakened your warfare. Chosen one. Breathe. The season that once felt like endless pause is shifting into release. You are stepping into divine acceleration, not the reckless rush of human ambition, but the holy speed of prophetic fulfillment. The doors that once resisted you will now recognize you. The delay that confused you will now confirm you. So take this moment, not to complain, but to celebrate the divine timing that protected your destiny. Heaven's calendar has turned in your favor. You have been patient long enough. Now, the promise will speak. Now, as a prophetic response of agreement, comment, "It is time." Write it below, not as routine, but as a declaration that your season of stillness has served its purpose. When you type those words, you're not just expressing hope, you're announcing alignment. You're telling heaven that you trust its rhythm, that you no longer resist the waiting, and that you are ready for the release ordained for you. You have waited faithfully. Now, chosen one, step forward in strength. The same God who watched you endure is now preparing to let you soar. Chosen one, the shaking you have felt around you lately is not destruction, it is divine reorganization. You've noticed it, haven't you? Relationships fading, opportunities slipping away, familiar places no longer feeling like home. What you once depended on no longer holds the same comfort, and what used to make sense now feels hollow. This is not chaos, this is calling. Heaven is shaking everything that cannot remain, so that what is eternal can finally stand. When God prepares to elevate you, He first dismantles what was built on the wrong foundation. The separation you're experiencing is not punishment, it is proof of promotion. You cannot rise while remaining entangled with what was meant only for your past season. So, heaven begins to cut ties, to close doors, to shift alignments that no longer serve your divine purpose. It hurts because it's holy. It feels like loss, but it's actually liberation. Many of those who once walked closely beside you were never meant to finish the journey with you. Some were seasonal teachers. Others were temporary shelters during storms, but not all were covenant companions. You may have prayed for some of them to stay, but God, in His mercy, removed what would have hindered your next step. The pruning is painful, but it's also prophetic. We are reminded through the writings of John in the Gospel, chapter 15, verse 2, "Every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes, that it may bear more fruit." Look closely at your life. The friendships that ended abruptly, the opportunities that vanished, the shifts that made no sense at first, all were orchestrated by divine precision. God is not taking from you, He is making room for what is coming. You cannot pour new wine into old skins, and you cannot carry old connections into new dimensions. Every elevation requires separation. You have felt the loneliness that follows pruning, the silent in-between, when God seems to remove everything familiar. But even that solitude is sacred. In the stillness of separation, heaven reveals secrets. It is there that your discernment sharpens, your ears open to new frequencies, and your eyes begin to see beyond what others can. Isolation is not the absence of God, it is often the proof of His nearness. Sometimes, before God expands your influence, He must reduce your circle. He removes distractions disguised as company and noise disguised as counsel. The divine separation is heaven's way of protecting your focus. You cannot carry every voice into the next chapter. Not everyone can understand the weight of the call you carry. If they could, they would have stayed, but their departure confirms their limitation, not your failure. Chosen one, the shaking in your world is simply the earth responding to your spiritual upgrade. What is unstable is being removed so that what is unshakable can be revealed. You were never meant to build your foundation on people's approval or familiar patterns. You were meant to stand on the unmovable rock of destiny. When God prunes, He removes even good things to make room for the greater. Do not mourn what has been divinely dismissed. Heaven never subtracts without the intention to multiply. Every friendship, every dream, every connection that fell away made space for something purer, stronger, and aligned with your next anointing. What leaves your life by obedience cannot take your promise away. It only clears the path for its arrival. There will come a day when you look back on this season and realize the separation was mercy in disguise. If God had allowed everything to stay as it was, you would have remained bound by comfort, not led by calling. Now, because of the shaking, you are lighter, freer, ready to run. The Spirit whispers even now, don't cling to what I'm cutting. The vine cannot bear fruit by holding on to dead branches. Let go, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Your obedience in the pruning will determine your abundance in the harvest. Do not mistake divine removal for demonic attack. The hand that wounds in pruning is the same hand that heals in growth. Trust the process. Each loss you feel is a seed of increase sown in faith. Every goodbye whispered in pain will echo as thanksgiving in the days to come. You are being prepared for environments that demand purity of intention and clarity of purpose. The people assigned to your next level will recognize you not by appearance, but by alignment. You won't have to chase them, you'll meet them in motion. So, let the shaking continue. Let the separation complete its work. The branch that survives the pruning will carry a fragrance the world has never known. This is how heaven multiplies fruit through the holy art of divine removal. Stand still and let the gardener finish his work in you. What you perceive as breaking is, in truth, becoming. When the pruning is done, your life will not only bear fruit, it will bear evidence that God Himself has tended to you. Chosen one. Can you feel the sound in the Spirit? It's not noise, it's a summons. The heavens are calling your name with an authority that cannot be mistaken. The trumpet of awakening has been blown over your life, and your spirit is beginning to stand at attention. Every cell within you is responding to that divine command, rise. This is not a casual invitation. This is the call that divides history, the call that separates wanderers from warriors, spectators from carriers of glory. You have heard the whisper in your soul for too long, the pull that says there is more, the ache that refuses to let you settle. Tonight, that ache becomes instruction. Heaven is saying, move. For too long, you have doubted your readiness. You have questioned your worthiness, waiting for a sign that now is the right time. But chosen one, this is the sign. The delay ends where obedience begins. God does not call the prepared, He prepares those who answer. What heaven needs is not perfection, but surrender. As was spoken in the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 22, verse 14, many are called, but few are chosen. That verse isn't a warning, it's an awakening. It means that countless souls will hear the sound, but only a few will rise when the trumpet blows. And you, beloved, are one of the few. You are not here by accident. This word found you because heaven marked your name in the book of purpose. When heaven calls, hesitation is costly. Every moment you delay obedience, something divine is delayed in the earth. There are people, nations, and generations attached to your yes. The longer you wait, the longer they wander, but when you rise, when you obey, chains begin to fall, not just from your life, but from the lives connected to yours. The call to rise is not about personal glory, it is about divine responsibility. God is not elevating you for recognition, He is raising you for representation. You are a living example of what heaven can do with a surrendered vessel. You are a signpost for others still lost in their night. Proof that grace chooses the unlikely and crowns the willing. Listen closely. Rising will cost you comfort. It will demand that you walk by faith when visibility fades. It will require that you step out of the crowd, even if your legs tremble. But the trembling is sacred. It means you're alive to your destiny. Heaven never asks you to rise without giving you the strength to stand. You will not fall, you will fly. Every spiritual promotion begins with a simple act of obedience. Say yes. Even if you don't know what comes next. Say yes. Even if your voice shakes. Your obedience is the key that unlocks the next chapter of your divine assignment. God is not asking you to be fearless, He is asking you to be faithful. Fear may walk beside you, but it cannot lead you. Faith will always lead you home. The moment you rise, the weight that held you will begin to crumble. Because when you move, the atmosphere adjusts to your authority. When a chosen one takes their rightful position, the earth responds. You have hidden long enough. Heaven is ready to reveal what it has been building in secret. Every hidden hour of prayer, every unseen sacrifice, every quiet act of faithfulness, it all becomes visible now. God is about to display His glory through you. But first, He calls you to rise not in pride, but in purpose. Beloved, this message is not for entertainment, it's a divine appointment. If these words stir something inside you, it's because the trumpet is sounding in your direction. The same Spirit that breathed over the dry bones in Ezekiel's valley is now breathing over your destiny. Rise from the ashes of hesitation. Rise from the valley of fear. Rise from the weight of comparison. Heaven is ready to crown your obedience with power. And if this message has reached your heart in truth, take a moment, pause, breathe, and let your spirit respond. When you feel that burning inside, don't dismiss it. It's confirmation that heaven is speaking directly to you. Now, if you sense this word resonates deeply within your soul, I invite you gently, sincerely, to stay connected to the flow of what God is releasing. Like this message, not as routine, but as agreement with heaven's call. Share it, not for attention, but because someone else's awakening might depend on your obedience. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, so that these divine reminders continue to find you right when you need them most. Your rising is not a one-time event, it's a process. A climb from shadow into light, from hesitation into holy confidence. Each message you receive is another trumpet blast pushing you higher, reminding you that you are not forgotten, not disqualified, and not late. Tonight, the heavens declare, it's your turn. Rise. Chosen one, step into the unknown, for the unknown is where miracles dwell. Every promise written about you is waiting beyond the line of fear. The only thing between your calling and your fulfillment is your courage to stand. And when you do, the earth will know that another light has risen. Chosen one. Lately the battle has intensified. Hasn't it? The pressure, the confusion, the unseen heaviness that seems to strike without warning. It's as if invisible forces are watching your every step, testing the strength of your spirit. You've been fighting battles that no one else sees, battles in the mind, in the heart, in the unseen places of the soul, and yet you are still standing. That alone is proof that heaven is with you. What's been happening to you is not coincidence, it's spiritual warfare. The moment heaven activated your assignment, the enemy activated opposition. Darkness recognizes destiny before it manifests in the natural. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the louder the resistance becomes. But hear this, opposition is not a sign of failure, it's confirmation of movement. The war you're in is not punishment, it's prophecy being fulfilled. You may not see it, but angels have been fighting for you while you've been praying in tears. Heaven has been dispatching reinforcements. Every whisper of faith has been heard in the courts of heaven, and every attack against your purpose has been logged as evidence for your victory. The warfare is heavy because your destiny is holy. Even now, as you read these words, the unseen realm trembles. Angels sharpen their swords, and the atmosphere shifts to favor your deliverance. The prayers you thought went unanswered have become decrees in motion. What once opposed you now prepares to witness your vindication, because heaven never forgets the cries of its chosen. As written in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers." These words remind you that your true enemies are not people, they are patterns, systems, and unseen forces that aim to steal your peace and silence your purpose. That's why the attacks often come through those closest to you, or in the areas that matter most. The enemy cannot touch your destiny, but he will try to distract your focus. His goal is not destruction, it's delay. If he can keep you weary, he can keep you wandering. But tonight, that cycle breaks. You are no longer fighting from weakness, you are fighting from victory. The moment Christ marked you as his own, your triumph was sealed. You are not begging for survival, you are enforcing authority. The weapons may form, but they cannot prosper. Every arrow sent against you returns empty, because heaven has already declared the outcome. Still, warfare teaches you to discern. Not every storm is sent by darkness, some are stirred by heaven to strengthen you. God allows resistance so that your roots grow deeper. You cannot carry divine fire without learning to withstand wind. The battle builds endurance, and endurance builds power. You are not merely surviving this storm, you are being shaped by it. Chosen one. Remember this, the enemy only attacks what threatens him. The presence of warfare is proof of the presence of worth. The fact that hell has invested this much effort against you should tell you how significant your calling truly is. You were never fighting for small territory, you were chosen to carry something eternal. Even in the heat of battle, heaven has not left you weaponless. Your praise confuses darkness. Your prayers shift atmospheres. Your faith, even when trembling, strikes fear into the enemy's camp. You are not fighting alone. There is a divine army assigned to your name, waiting for your command to act. When you stand firm in truth, you activate heaven's response. Yes, the warfare is real. The sleepless nights, the sudden heaviness, the anxiety that appears without reason, these are the ripples of a spiritual clash. But victory is not determined by how loud the war becomes. It's determined by who remains standing when the dust settles. And you, beloved, are still standing. That is not weakness, it is divine resilience. So do not fear the darkness that rises against you. You carry a light it cannot comprehend. Your presence alone disrupts its plans. Every time you choose peace over panic, love over bitterness, faith over fear, you win another unseen battle. You are learning how to rule in realms you once only survived in. The warfare may not end overnight, but it will not defeat you. You are moving from being attacked to becoming untouchable. Soon, what once tormented you will bow before the authority of your anointing. The war in the invisible is shifting, and heaven is tilting the scales in your favor. Now, as an act of prophetic agreement, comment the number 555 below. That number represents divine change, the shifting of seasons, and the movement of heaven's hand. When you write it, you're declaring that transformation has begun, that what was meant to break you will build you instead. Every storm that has raged around you is now becoming the wind that lifts you higher. Every dark attack is turning into fuel for your awakening. Heaven fights for you, chosen one. And tonight, the war begins to turn. Chosen one. Pain has been your most persistent teacher. It has sat beside you in silence, walked with you through long nights, and spoken lessons that joy could never articulate. You may not have realized it, but pain has never been your enemy. It has been your interpreter. It has revealed who you truly are when everything else was stripped away. Beneath every scar, there is revelation. Beneath every ache, there is a map of divine instruction. You see, heaven often hides vision inside affliction. The things that wounded you most deeply were not random. They were sacred messages disguised as suffering. God allows pain not to destroy you, but to deliver you from illusions. In the pressure of pain, the counterfeit fades, and what is real emerges. You begin to see clearly. You begin to recognize purpose. Every disappointment was a divine redirection. Every heartbreak exposed where your trust had been misplaced. Every betrayal became the mirror that reflected your own resilience. Pain strips away illusions so that purpose can finally breathe. And though you have cried, though your heart has felt shattered beyond repair, each piece has been picked up by divine hands and shaped into something stronger, purer, wiser, as it is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 3. He will give you the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places. Do you understand what that means? Beloved, it means that even in the dark places, treasures are buried. God hides gifts in the shadows of suffering, not to torment you, but to transform you. What was taken from you was never the treasure, it was the wrapping. The true treasure has been forming inside of you all along. You were not meant to escape pain, you were meant to extract revelation from it. The same tears that once blurred your vision have now become lenses of discernment. You see differently now. Don't you? You can sense motives before they speak. Recognize deception before it moves, and feel truth before it's revealed. That sensitivity is sacred. It was purchased through suffering. Pain is heaven's chiseling tool. Each blow that seemed to break you was carving purpose into your being. You are not shattered, you are shaped. The fragments of your story were never meant to be thrown away. They are the mosaic of your ministry. When you tell your story, you do not speak as a victim, but as a vessel refined by divine fire. Chosen one. Pain is the birthplace of empathy. It is impossible to heal others without first understanding what brokenness feels like. The compassion you now carry did not come cheaply, it was forged in your own valley. That is why your presence brings comfort. People may not know why they feel peace when you enter the room, but heaven knows it's because you've walked through pain and carried back peace as proof that God delivers. Do not despise what hurt you. Without those moments, you would not have known your own endurance. Without those nights of weeping, you would not have discovered the depth of divine companionship. In your loneliest hour, when no one else could hear your cry, heaven leaned in closer. The silence you felt was not absence, it was intimacy. There are visions you now carry that could not have been born in comfort. The pressure that nearly crushed you birthed prophetic clarity. You understand now that destiny is not handed to the untested. Only those who have walked through fire can handle the weight of holy purpose. And you, chosen one, have walked through fire and survived. You have emerged with gold in your spirit. Every battle, every bruise, every moment you thought you couldn't go on, those were the alchemy of heaven, transforming pain into power. You are not the same as you were before the storm. You are wiser. You are deeper. You are dangerous to darkness because you no longer fear brokenness. When others look at the scars, they see pain. But when heaven looks at them, it sees authority. Every scar is a certificate of survival, signed by grace itself. The mark of pain has become the seal of power. You no longer speak from theory, you speak from testimony. Chosen one. Never forget this. Your pain has purpose. Every ache was a prophecy. Every wound a weapon being forged. The vision that God has placed in you needed pain to reveal itself fully. And now, what once made you weep will soon make you worship. There is glory rising from your ashes. You are not defined by what hurt you, you are refined by it. The very things that tried to end you have become the reasons you endure. Pain opened your eyes to who you are, and in that revelation lies the blueprint of your destiny. So, walk forward, not bitter, but burning with vision that came from the valley, and faith that was born from fire. You have found the treasure in the darkness. Now, it is time to carry it into the light. Chosen one. You remember the moment when everything seemed to collapse, the point when even your prayers felt like whispers against a storm. You thought it was the end, the breaking point where all strength dissolved. But now, looking back, you begin to sense that something sacred was hidden in that breaking. What you thought was ruin was actually revelation. The breaking point was not your burial, it was your birthplace. You see, heaven has a way of disguising beginnings as endings. When God wants to birth something new, He often allows what was old to fall apart. It is never comfortable, never quiet, but it is always holy. You have stood in the ruins of what once was, not realizing that the ground beneath your feet was already shifting to make room for what is coming. The shaking wasn't punishment, it was delivery. Every ending in your life carried a hidden instruction. When the relationship ended, it taught you discernment. When the opportunity dissolved, it revealed where your trust truly rested. When your plans crumbled, it was because heaven refused to let you settle for less than divine purpose. The breaking exposed your foundation, showing you where strength must be rebuilt, not by willpower, but by surrender. There was a time when you cried out, "Why? God and heaven answered not with explanation, but with transformation, because sometimes answers can't heal you, only change can. God didn't owe you a reason for the breaking. He owed you restoration through it. What you lost in form, you gained in fire. You became stronger not by understanding, but by enduring. The breaking revealed your true resilience. The very moment you thought you would shatter, something within you, something divine, refused to give up. That refusal was not human determination. It was the Spirit of God rising within you. The breaking awakened what comfort had silenced. When everything around you fell apart, heaven whispered, "Now, let me build." As spoken in the Gospel according to John, chapter 12, verse 24. Unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it produces much fruit. Do you feel the truth in that? The breaking was not death, it was planting. You were placed in the soil of stillness, covered by seasons of obscurity, and pressed by the weight of waiting. Yet, even in the darkness, you were growing. Heaven hid you, not to punish you, but to protect your process. What seemed like an ending was really incubation. The soil of your suffering became the womb of your purpose. Every tear that fell was water for the seed. Every moment of silence was sunlight for your unseen growth. The ground did not reject you, it received you. And now, the roots of your calling have grown deep, unshakable, unseen but unstoppable. When you rise from this breaking, you will not emerge fragile, you will emerge fruitful. The fruit you bear will be evidence of what God built beneath the surface. People will look at you and wonder how you survived what should have destroyed you. They will see the bloom, but never understand the burial. Only you will know how sacred the soil truly was. Chosen one. It is in the breaking that the divine exchange happens. Pride breaks into humility. Fear breaks into faith. Old identities break so that divine ones can form. You are not being undone, you are being reborn. The old version of you was too small to carry what heaven intended. That is why God allowed the breaking to make room for expansion. When glass shatters, it can cut, but when clay breaks, it can be remolded. You are clay, not glass. The potter never discards what breaks in his hands. He reshapes it with purpose. You were broken in his hands, not outside them. That makes all the difference. Now, the same places where you bled will become places where others find healing. The same cracks that once embarrassed you will shine with light. God will use your transparency as testimony. Your scars will speak louder than your words, declaring that brokenness is not the end, it is the beginning of beauty. Do not despise the process that crushed you. The oil of anointing only flows from olives that have been pressed. Likewise, your greatness could only emerge through pressure. What you call breaking, heaven calls birthing. Soon, you will realize that the pain was prophetic. It was heaven's way of saying, you were never meant to stay where you fell. You were meant to rise. Carrying wisdom the unbroken will never know. You were meant to walk with power that only the broken can carry. Chosen one, lift your head. The dust of your breaking will soon turn into the gold of your becoming. You are the proof that endings are not failures, they are the language of transformation. Chosen one, something powerful is stirring within you. It feels like a fire that cannot be contained, a holy burning that has no earthly explanation. This is not just emotion, This is impartation. Heaven is clothing you with what Scripture calls the mantle of fire. It is the same flame that rested on prophets, the same presence that turned ordinary men and women into carriers of divine power. You have been through the breaking, the pruning, the waiting, and now the mantle descends. You have been found faithful in private, and heaven rewards such faith with public purpose. The fire is not for spectacle, it is for assignment. It will rest upon you quietly, but burn with unrelenting force. This is the moment where your preparation meets God's empowerment. As recorded in the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 1, verse 7, He makes His ministers a flame of fire. The Spirit does not send fire to entertain, but to equip. The flame purifies, exposes, and empowers. Everything that does not belong to your next season will burn away in its heat. You cannot carry this mantle and remain unchanged. It consumes what is false, leaving only what is faithful. This mantle will make you feel different. You will no longer fit into spaces that once felt comfortable. The conversations that once entertained you will suddenly feel shallow. The fire will not allow you to blend in. It will insist that you burn brighter. Do not fight that transformation. It is evidence of your calling. Chosen one. When fire falls, darkness flees. When you speak under this mantle, words carry weight beyond sound. They shift atmospheres, heal hearts, and awaken others to their own divine potential. Heaven does not give you this fire to exalt you, but to extend grace through you. You are becoming a living torch, a moving altar that carries God's glory wherever you go. This is why the warfare intensified before this moment. The enemy fears the fire more than your talent, more than your influence, more than your voice. Because fire cannot be imitated. It cannot be manufactured. It is the purest proof that heaven has chosen you. When fire touches you, you become untouchable. But with fire comes responsibility. It demands purity of motive and humility of heart. The mantle of fire is never about status. It is about surrender. God can only trust flames to rest on vessels that will not try to control them. You must remain yielded, pliable, teachable. The more you surrender, the brighter you will burn. You will begin to notice a new sensitivity to the Spirit. Whispers that once felt faint will now thunder in your heart. You'll sense when to speak and when to stay silent. You'll discern the difference between good and divine, between what is urgent and what is eternal. That discernment is the fire's wisdom at work. There will be moments when this mantle feels heavy, moments when obedience burns more than it blesses. But remember, the flame does not harm what it refines. It only consumes what hinders. The weight you feel is not a burden, it's glory settling upon you. Those around you may not understand what's happening, but that's all right. The fire often offends the unlit. When they see your transformation, some will distance themselves, not out of hatred, but out of discomfort. They will feel the heat and not yet be ready to face their own. Pray for them, but don't dim your flame to make them comfortable. You have waited long enough for this anointing, and now it rests upon you like a crown of light. Every prayer, every tear, every night of endurance, it all led to this impartation. Heaven is trusting you with power that cannot be stolen or replicated. This is the fire that births movements, the fire that awakens nations. Let it burn through fear. Let it burn through doubt. Let it burn through every trace of who you were before grace touched you. The mantle is not a symbol, it's a weapon. Every spark that leaves your spirit ignites something eternal in those who hear your voice. You are no longer waiting for revival, you are the revival. Now, as an act of agreement with heaven's flame, comment, "Let it burn." Write it below not as routine, but as release. When you type those 3 words, you are declaring to heaven and to the earth that you will not hide your fire. You are giving the Spirit permission to consume what no longer serves your purpose and to ignite every gift buried within you. Let the fire fall. Chosen one, the mantle is upon you. Burn with holiness. Burn with love. Burn with power and watch darkness retreat wherever you go. Chosen one. Silence can be one of the hardest things to endure. You've prayed, fasted, believed, and yet heaven seems quiet. The stillness feels endless, like a pause between promises. You look around and see others moving forward while you wait, and a whisper tries to convince you that perhaps God has forgotten, but he hasn't. The silence is not his absence, it is his strategy. Every great unveiling is preceded by divine stillness. The heavens hold their breath before revelation breaks forth. This is not the silence of neglect, it is the silence of preparation. When heaven hides its voice, it's not because God has nothing to say, it's because he's already said enough for the next step. The silence is your testing ground, the sacred classroom where trust becomes your only teacher. Be encouraged. Chosen one. God is not ignoring you. He is inspecting what he's built inside you. In moments when you can't hear him, he is watching how you steward what he's already spoken. Faith that depends on constant confirmation is fragile, but faith that survives silence is unbreakable. This is the kind of faith that moves mountains, the kind that terrifies darkness. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 46, verse 10. Be still, and know that I am God. That verse is not an invitation to inactivity, it's a call to intimacy. Be still means to surrender control, to let the Creator prove that his timing is perfect. Silence is not punishment, it's permission for heaven to work beyond your sight. While you've been waiting, God has been weaving. Every unanswered prayer has been aligning pieces behind the scenes. Think about it. Seeds grow in silence. A baby forms in the womb with no sound. Diamonds develop under pressure, far from light or noise. Creation itself happens quietly. So, when God goes silent, he's not withholding, he's creating. The stillness you despise may be the very moment he's shaping your next season. Chosen one. You are in the pause before the unveiling, the quiet between the thunder and the rain. Heaven is still, not because it has forgotten you, but because it is aligning everything for your moment of emergence. Soon, what was hidden will speak, and what was promised will stand before your eyes. In this silence, you are being refined. You're learning that trust doesn't require explanations, that peace doesn't depend on answers, and that faith isn't proven by words, but by waiting. When everything around you slows down, heaven is building endurance in your spirit. Every still moment is strengthening your spiritual muscle to hold what's coming. Do not despise the silence. Learn to listen differently within it. There are whispers that cannot be heard through noise, truths that only reveal themselves in stillness. In silence, revelation matures. Your heart becomes tuned to frequencies that chaos could never allow you to hear. You begin to understand that God doesn't always shout. Sometimes he simply is. Beloved, when you emerge from this quiet season, you will carry a peace that cannot be shaken. You will know how to stand in storms without flinching, because you've learned to hear heaven even when heaven seems mute. You will move with precision because you've learned to discern without explanation. The silence will have taught you the rhythm of divine timing. So wait, not as one forgotten, but as one being prepared. The stillness will end, and when it does, your obedience in silence will speak louder than any sound. Heaven's next word over your life will not be correction, it will be confirmation. You will look back and realize that the silence was the bridge between promise and fulfillment. And when that moment comes, when the breakthrough you prayed for finally stands before you, your spirit will know it was all worth it. The waiting, the quiet, the questions, all of it was shaping something eternal inside you. Now, if this message resonates with you, if it gently reminds your heart that heaven's quietness is love in disguise, then take a moment to show gratitude, like this message, not for me, but as a small act of agreement that you choose trust over fear. Share it with someone who might be in their own silent season, someone who needs to know that stillness does not mean abandonment. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, not as routine, but to stay connected to words that align your soul with heaven's rhythm. This silence is sacred. Chosen one, it is the womb of your next miracle. Soon, the same silence that once made you anxious will become the sound of your deepest peace. Be still, for your unveiling draws near. Chosen one, there comes a point in every divine journey where faith must walk alone. The voices that once encouraged you grow quiet. The signs you depended on seem to vanish. The path ahead looks uncertain, and all you have left is trust. This is the test of trust, the sacred trial every chosen soul must face before elevation. It's not about what you know, but who you believe. In this season, God is not asking for your understanding, he is asking for your confidence in his character. When you cannot trace his hand, you must trust his heart. When you cannot see the way, you must remember who made the way. The test of trust strips away every false security until all that remains is pure dependence on the one who called you. You have already survived battles that should have broken you, endured storms that should have silenced you. But this test is different. It is not fought with strength, it is won through surrender. You will not conquer this mountain by climbing harder, but by letting God lift you in his timing. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. Trust is the highest form of worship. Chosen one, even when your faith trembles. Heaven counts it as triumph. God does not measure your strength by how loudly you shout, but by how quietly you keep believing. Every breath that whispers, "I trust you," carries more power than 1,000 declarations of fear. Even your smallest act of faith shakes the foundations of darkness. In the stillness between your prayers and their fulfillment, heaven is sculpting endurance into your soul. You are being trained to walk through storms without losing your song, to carry peace into chaos. Trust is not built in victory, it is built in vulnerability. And when you trust him here, you'll never doubt him again. As written in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 7, we walk by faith, not by sight. That verse is simple, but it carries the weight of eternity. To walk by faith means to move, even when visibility is gone, to take steps guided by whispers instead of evidence. It means that your confidence in the unseen outweighs the noise of the visible. It is the maturity of faith to say, I do not see, but I still believe. Chosen one. The test of trust comes when heaven seems slow. You've prayed, prepared, and waited, yet nothing seems to shift. The temptation is to act out of fear, to force what God has not yet finished. But every time you rush ahead, you risk building something that heaven never commissioned. The pause is not punishment, it's protection. God withholds what is premature so that you won't miscarry what is meant to be born in fullness. Trust is learned in tension. You discover what you truly believe, not when everything works, but when nothing makes sense. The silence, the delays, the unanswered prayers, all of it exposes the roots of your faith. Do you trust God for what He does, or for who He is? When you reach that question and still choose to say, I trust you, heaven calls you faithful. There are times when trust feels like walking through fog. You can only see the next step, not the whole path. But that's the design. If you saw the entire journey, it would no longer require faith. God reveals enough to keep you moving, but conceals enough to keep you close. Every step you take is a declaration that says, I still believe. Even here, beloved, trust does not mean denial. It does not mean pretending you don't feel fear or pain. It means choosing faith in spite of them. It means standing in the middle of uncertainty and saying, even if I don't see the outcome, I know the one who holds it. That kind of faith cannot be taught, it can only be forged. And right now, that forging is happening in you. Heaven is training your heart for endurance, shaping your soul for stability. The reason the process feels intense is because your purpose is immense. You are being trusted with influence, and God must ensure your foundation will not crumble under the weight of your calling. You may not understand why things are taking so long, but one day you will thank God for every delay, because what is built on trust will last, and what is built on panic will collapse. The test of trust is not about surviving, it's about staying steady. It's about believing when every reason to doubt stands before you, yet you refuse to bow. Chosen one. Trust transforms your waiting into worship. When you choose peace over panic, you testify that God is enough. You no longer need proof. His presence becomes your promise. Every act of trust becomes a seed that heaven multiplies. And though you can't see it now, trust always births triumph. The test of trust will not last forever. One day soon, the fog will lift, and you'll realize you were never lost, you were being led. The very path that frightened you will become the testimony that strengthens others. You'll look back and say, that was the moment I truly believed. Hold steady, beloved. The hand of God still guides you, even when your eyes cannot see Him. The test of trust is not to break you, but to build you into a believer who cannot be shaken. Chosen one. Lately, you've begun to notice something: unusual numbers appearing again and again. On clocks, on receipts, on street signs, in random moments that seem too intentional to be accidental. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. Heaven is speaking through symbols, reminding you that divine timing is in motion. What you are seeing is not superstition, it is synchronization. You are in a prophetic season where the natural and spiritual overlap. God is communicating in layers. weaving messages into your daily rhythm to let you know that you are aligned with His will. These numbers are not magic. They are markers, reminders that your steps are ordered, your timing is holy, and your journey is being guided by hands unseen. As was written in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 2, "Write the vision and make it plain upon tablets, that he may run who reads it." Heaven uses numbers much like it uses dreams and visions to capture your attention when your mind is too weary for words. Every repeating number you see is like a divine signature, saying, "I am here. Keep going. You are on the right path." These moments of recognition are confirmations that your obedience is being acknowledged. Chosen one. The kingdom of heaven is precise. Nothing in your life happens by chance, and every divine detail is coordinated by wisdom beyond comprehension. You may see patterns, but heaven sees prophecy. Numbers are the fingerprints of divine order, the language of creation itself. Just as the stars were numbered and the hairs on your head counted, your journey, too, has been measured with perfect accuracy. Perhaps lately you've seen patterns like 111, 222, or 333, and you've wondered if they meant something. Yes, they do. They are reminders of alignment, faith, and divine completion. Heaven uses these moments not to mystify you, but to draw your awareness back to the presence of God that surrounds you every moment of every day. You are walking in a season of divine mathematics. Every delay, every connection, every closed and open door, each has been calculated with holy precision. Even the timing of your encounters carries meaning. You were not late, and you were not early. You were perfectly placed. The numbers you see are heaven's way of saying, you are synchronized with destiny. Chosen one. This is not something to fear, it is something to honor. The awareness of divine order should fill you with peace, not pressure. You are not striving for perfection, you are walking in alignment. The same God who orchestrates galaxies is orchestrating your growth. Every pattern you see is proof that your story is still under His authorship. Pay attention to what surrounds these signs. What were you thinking, feeling, or praying about when the number appeared? Heaven often confirms a word through repetition. What may seem ordinary is often an answer to a prayer you forgot you prayed. You are not imagining it, you are awakening to it. You see, this is what happens when you step into prophetic awareness. The spiritual world begins to reveal its order around you. What others call coincidence, you recognize as confirmation. Heaven communicates not just through speech, but through sequence. And now, your spirit is tuned to hear even the silent language of the divine. Chosen one. When you see these numbers, don't just observe them, pause and listen. They are invitations to awareness. Sometimes they carry comfort, sometimes correction, sometimes courage. God speaks differently to each of His chosen, but always with love. The numbers do not create the message, they confirm it. The message is always the same, I am with you. In this moment, heaven invites you to respond, to step into agreement with divine order, to acknowledge that your path is not random, but radiant with purpose. Now, as a prophetic act of faith and recognition, comment the number 444 below. That number represents divine establishment, the building of what will last, the solidifying of your foundations, It is the number of heavenly order meeting earthly obedience. When you write it, you are declaring that you choose to walk in step with divine rhythm, that your steps will not falter, and that your foundation is unshakable. You are not lost in numbers, you are found in purpose. You are part of a divine pattern that stretches beyond what the eye can see. Every heartbeat is a rhythm of heaven's counting. Every breath another sign that your life is measured and meaningful. From this moment, begin to see with new eyes. When you notice those patterns again, smile and whisper, "I see you, Lord." It is not about superstition, it is about recognition. You are being invited to live consciously within divine timing, to move with the flow of heaven rather than against it. Beloved, the numbers are not just signs, they are songs. Heaven is singing through sequence, reminding you that even the smallest detail of your life dances to divine rhythm. You are aligned, you are seen, and you are counted among the chosen one. Something has begun to stir in the unseen. The heavens are shifting. You may not yet see it with your eyes, but your spirit can feel it. The air is changing. The atmosphere is charged. Everything that was delayed, resisted, or held back by unseen hands is beginning to move into divine order. You are standing at the edge of a rearrangement so vast that even the enemy must step aside. There are moments in history when heaven intervenes directly, when the invisible realm tilts, and every plan of darkness collapses under the weight of divine authority. This is one of those moments. The shift is not gentle, it is powerful. God is overturning what was built against you. He is untying knots the enemy tied, releasing resources, and restoring what was stolen in silence. You may not hear thunder, but the heavens are roaring. You may not see lightning, but the light of heaven is cutting through confusion. The angels assigned to your destiny have received new instructions. They are moving swiftly, strategically, unhindered, while you sleep. Realms are being rewritten. Where there was resistance, now there will be release. Where there was delay, now there will be divine acceleration. The Spirit spoke through Moses in the book of Exodus. Chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. That promise is alive for you now. Heaven is not asking for your striving, it is asking for your stillness. This battle is not yours to fight, it is yours to witness. The very forces that stood against your progress are now being dismantled by the hand of God Himself. The tables are turning, and this time they will not turn back. Chosen one, the shift in the heavens is more than blessing, it is justice. Every tear that fell in silence, every prayer whispered through pain, every injustice you endured, heaven has recorded them all. The righteous judge has opened the scrolls, and verdicts are being released in your favor. You are entering a season of divine reversal, where wrongs are made right and hidden wrongdoers are exposed. Do not be alarmed when people or things suddenly fall away. When heaven shifts, alignment becomes the great revealer. Some were attached to you only for a season, others were assigned for purpose. As God rearranges your path, those out of alignment will be gently removed, and those meant to build with you will appear. You are stepping into divine synchronization. This shift is also internal. The atmosphere of your heart is changing. Where fear once lived, peace now settles. Where doubt once whispered, faith now roars. Heaven's wind is clearing your inner sky, removing fog so you can see clearly again. The clarity you've been praying for will not come from striving, it will come from surrender. The more you release control, the more God reveals His order. There is movement around your name. Conversations are happening in rooms you haven't entered yet. People you've never met are feeling prompted to remember you, recommend you, support you. Heaven is orchestrating divine connections, threads of destiny being woven together to form what you will soon step into. You are not forgotten, you are being positioned. Chosen one. Understand this. The shift in the heavens often looks chaotic in the natural. The storm that precedes calm is still a part of the miracle. When things seem unsettled, do not panic. It means God's hand is at work. His rearranging often feels like shaking before it feels like stability. Trust that what appears to be falling apart is actually falling into place. You may sense strange transitions in your surroundings, unexpected messages, sudden opportunities, surprising closures. All of it is connected. Heaven is closing every counterfeit door so that the true ones can open without interference. You will not have to force your way in. You will simply find yourself standing where grace has gone before you. Every delay that once frustrated you is now becoming divine precision. You are being aligned, not with convenience, but with calling. The timing of heaven is never late. It is layered with meaning. You are about to see how every waiting season fit perfectly into this moment of unfolding. Do not underestimate what is happening right now. Heaven's shift is not partial, it is total. The old systems are crumbling. The old chains are breaking. The old cycles are ending. You are being moved into the center of God's perfect design. The same power that parted the Red Sea is parting your obstacles. And the same hand that silenced Pharaoh is silencing every voice raised against you. Chosen one. Lift your eyes. Feel the atmosphere of destiny moving around you. What is coming is not small, it is supernatural. You have stepped into a moment written long before your birth. A moment when heaven decides it is time. Stand still. Breathe deeply. Let the shift complete its work. For soon, you will walk into what you once only dreamed of. And you will know, beyond all doubt, the heavens moved for you. Chosen one. There is a reason the crown comes with a sword. Destiny is not just about glory, it is about guardianship. You were not chosen merely to shine, you were chosen to stand. In this new dimension of calling, you must learn the balance between authority and humility, between the weight of the sword and the worth of the crown. Heaven never places a crown on an untested head. The battles you've endured were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to teach you how to wield divine power responsibly. Every wound, every confrontation, every time you had to stand alone, these moments forged strength that cannot be imitated. The sword of your spirit was sharpened in seasons of silence and surrender. As written in the book of Psalms, chapter 149, verse 4, He crowns the humble with victory. That verse is not merely a comfort, it is a code. It reveals the key to maintaining your authority, humility. The higher God raises you. The lower your heart must bow. The true strength of a king or queen in the kingdom is not measured by how loudly they command, but by how gently they serve. You do not need to prove power, you simply carry it. The sword represents truth, clarity, and discernment. It is the weapon that divides deception from destiny, illusion from instruction. But a sword without wisdom wounds more than it protects. That is why God allows humility to accompany authority. The crown grants you dominion. The sword ensures that you steward it wisely. Together, they form the complete image of divine leadership. Chosen one. There will be moments when your authority is challenged. People may misinterpret your confidence as pride, or your boundaries as coldness. Yet, remember, even Jesus carried his crown through misunderstanding. The approval of others can never outweigh the anointing placed upon you. Your validation comes from heaven, not from applause. In this new season, your discernment will be tested. The sword you carry is spiritual. It cuts through the unseen, revealing motives and intentions. You will perceive things before they are spoken. You will feel shifts before they manifest. This sensitivity is not a burden, it is a gift. But use it with grace. A sword of truth must always be guided by the hand of love. Authority without compassion becomes tyranny. But humility without conviction becomes weakness. You are called to embody both firm but kind, bold but gentle. When you speak, let it be from a place of alignment, not emotion. When you act, let heaven's whisper, not human reaction, guide you. The greatest warriors in the kingdom are not those who shout the loudest, but those who listen the deepest. Your crown signifies identity. It is the visible evidence of divine recognition. Heaven has marked you as royalty, not in the earthly sense, but in the eternal one. You carry the King's likeness, his authority, his mission. You represent heaven in human form. But remember, the crown is not for decoration, it is for responsibility. To wear it is to commit yourself to a life of service. Do not mistake gentleness for weakness. Even in humility, you are dangerous to darkness. When you walk into a room, spiritual atmospheres adjust. When you pray, invisible chains shatter. You may feel small in the natural, but in the unseen realm, your crown blazes like fire. The sword in your hand is not forged of metal, but of word and will, sharpened by revelation. There will be days when the crown feels heavy, when leadership feels lonely, when obedience feels costly. But do not set it down. The weight you feel is the weight of glory. To whom much is given, much is required, but also much is sustained. Heaven does not call you without equipping you. Every ounce of pressure is matched by an equal measure of grace. Chosen one. The sword and the crown are inseparable. The sword guards your integrity. The crown displays your identity. Together, they symbolize balance, justice, and mercy, strength and humility, conviction and compassion. When you move with both, you become unstoppable. Remember, the enemy does not fear titles, he fears alignment. Your power lies not in appearance but in posture, in staying bowed before God, even when the world bows before you. Every time you choose humility over pride, the crown shines brighter. Every time you choose love over vengeance, the sword grows sharper. This is how heaven reigns through you. So walk forward with dignity, not arrogance. Carry your authority quietly but confidently. Speak truth with tenderness and lead without losing your humanity. The sword is in your right hand, the crown rests upon your head. You are equipped to conquer without corruption, to influence without intimidation, to lead without losing love. You are not just chosen to win, you are chosen to govern. You will rule not from ego, but from empathy. Not from position, but from purpose. The kingdom advances through hearts that know both strength and surrender. Chosen one, lift your head. Feel the weight of glory settle like light upon you. You are both warrior and royalty, both servant and sovereign. The sword and the crown belong to you, not as trophies, but as tools of divine stewardship. Use them well, and the world will see heaven through your hands. Chosen one, can you feel it? There's a stirring in the air, an awakening among those who carry the same fire that burns within you. All across the earth, hearts are being quickened. The hidden ones, the quiet ones, the misunderstood and refined, they are rising. You are not alone in this calling. Heaven has been gathering a remnant, and their spirits are starting to recognize one another. For so long, you may have wondered why you never fit in, why the places that welcomed others never seemed to hold you. It's because you were never meant to blend, you were meant to gather. The light within you is a signal to others in the dark, a spiritual beacon calling the scattered ones home. This isn't coincidence, it's divine convergence. Heaven is uniting its chosen, and you are one of the voices meant to guide them. Across nations and languages, a generation is awakening to their divine identity. They may not know each other's names, but they know each other's presence. When one of them speaks, the others feel it deep in their spirit. That's how the remnant recognizes family, not by face, but by flame. As was declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." That is what you are, a light placed strategically by God. The world has tried to dim you, to make you doubt your worth, to convince you that your difference is a flaw. But light cannot apologize for shining. It can only do what it was created to do, illuminate. And as you shine, you awaken others to shine as well. The gathering of the remnant is not about fame or following, it's about function. Heaven is connecting those who share the same burden for truth, for purity, for purpose. You will soon notice new alignments forming, relationships that feel familiar even though you've only just met. This is divine orchestration. The Spirit is knitting hearts together for a collective assignment. Chosen one, your role is to lead with love and humility. Influence is not given to you for control, it's given for connection. The words you speak, the way you live, the peace you carry, it all serves as an invitation for others to awaken. You are a bridge between isolation and purpose. When you share your story, someone else finds courage to step into theirs. This is why your authenticity matters. People don't need perfection, they need presence. They need to see someone who walks through fire and still believes. Someone who carries scars but still shines. When you live transparently, you become a mirror for others to see that their brokenness can still hold beauty. The remnant is gathering quietly, but powerfully. Some will gather in physical spaces, others will connect through words, art, or even a message like this one. What unites them is not a building, but belief. They are bound together by faith, by the longing for truth, by the recognition of God's hand moving through history once again. And if you've been wondering whether your small acts matter, they do. Every time you choose kindness instead of anger, every time you speak hope instead of fear, every time you share light in dark places, you participate in heaven's gathering. You become part of the chain reaction of awakening. Beloved, If these words stir something inside you, if they feel like a reminder of something you've always known but forgotten for a while, then you are part of this movement. You are one of the carriers of light. This is your confirmation that heaven hasn't overlooked you, it's calling you into connection. So, let's make this moment a meeting place of lights. Like this message, if your spirit recognizes the sound of awakening, do it not for numbers, but as a small act of unity, a way to say, I am here, and I am ready. Share it with another soul who might be searching for their place in this gathering. Let your act of sharing become a spark in someone else's darkness. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, not out of obligation, but because this stream of words is more than content, it's communion. Each message carries the sound of heaven's reminder, calling the scattered ones back to their identity. Staying connected keeps you within the current of divine flow, where faith is strengthened and fire is rekindled. Finally, take a moment to comment below what resonated most with you. Your words might be the very confirmation someone else needs tonight. In this sacred space, we build community, not through proximity, but through purpose. Every comment becomes a small flame, every agreement a spark that keeps the collective fire alive. The gathering has begun. Chosen one, across the earth. Lights are rising, some faint, some fierce, but all divine. And together, they form a constellation of destiny. Proof that darkness never wins, where even one soul dares to shine. Chosen one, the hour of confrontation has arrived. You have walked through the refining fire, carried the weight of silence, and endured the testing of faith. Now, you stand at the threshold of your final proving. The spiritual war that once surrounded you now stands before you, face to face. This is the final confrontation, the last attempt of darkness to make you doubt the power that has been growing within you all along. Do not be afraid of what rises now. Every storm you've weathered has trained your spirit for this moment. The same fire that once purified you now becomes your weapon. This confrontation is not punishment, it is promotion. The enemy only attacks what threatens him, and your very existence has become a threat. You carry revelation that cannot be silenced, authority that cannot be stolen, and peace that cannot be shaken. The darkness that opposes you will not come in obvious forms. It will whisper through discouragement, fatigue, old memories, and subtle lies. It will try to convince you that you are unworthy, that your progress was illusion, that your light has dimmed. But every one of those lies is proof that truth has already taken root. The enemy does not waste energy on the lost, he fights the ones who are close to victory. The ancient vision recorded in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 11 declares, "They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony." That is your weapon. Chosen one, your testimony. You do not fight this battle by force, you overcome it by remembrance. When darkness whispers defeat, you remind it of everything you have survived. You recall every time God came through, every time peace returned when you thought it was gone, every time strength rose when you felt finished. Your testimony is your sword. The blood that covers you is your shield. This battle will not be external, it will be internal. It will happen in your thoughts, in your emotions, in your expectations. The enemy's goal is not to destroy your destiny, but to distract your focus. If he can steal your attention, he can delay your authority. That is why this confrontation is sacred. It is your final awakening to the truth that you have already won. You are no longer the same person who entered the storm. You have been tempered, like steel forged in fire. Your faith no longer wavers like before. It stands anchored in something eternal. Even when fear approaches, it finds no agreement inside you. That is how victory is secured, not when the enemy disappears, but when he loses access to your agreement. Chosen one. This is the season where you learn to stand in full spiritual authority, not through striving, but through stillness. The power that once intimidated you now flows through you. You carry peace as a weapon, worship as warfare, and truth as armor. You do not need to prove your power. You simply need to stand in it. There will be moments where this final clash feels heavy, moments when old patterns resurface or when the pressure becomes intense. But remember, this pressure always precedes release. Just before dawn, the night is darkest. Just before breakthrough, the battle is fiercest. Do not mistake resistance for reversal. The storm that's rising around you is heaven's wind pushing you into completion. You have already been prepared. The breaking built endurance. The pruning built clarity. The silence built intimacy. And now, the confrontation will build confidence. After this, you will not question your strength again. You will know beyond all doubt that you were never fighting alone. Heaven has always fought beside you. Chosen one. Lift your head and breathe deeply. The enemy's last strategy is intimidation. But intimidation only works when you bow to it. You do not need to outshout the darkness. You only need to outlast it. Stand still. Hold your ground. And watch heaven enforce your victory. The confrontation is not meant to reveal your weakness. It is meant to reveal your authority. The same voice that calmed storms now lives within you. When you speak, creation listens. When you pray, the unseen world responds. You carry divine jurisdiction. Your words are not mere speech, they are decrees. Even now, as this final confrontation unfolds, heaven is repositioning you. What the enemy used to intimidate you will become the very testimony that empowers you. The traps that were set for your downfall will become platforms for your declaration. The scars that once embarrassed you will become symbols of triumph. Do not run from the battle, walk through it. You are not a survivor anymore, you are a standard bearer. You carry the banner of victory, and it waves over every shadow that once called itself your fear. This is not just the end of a fight, it is the beginning of dominion. After this confrontation, you will no longer fight for peace, you will fight from peace. The ground that once belonged to anxiety will become territory of authority. The places that once echoed with your cries will now resound with your declarations. Chosen one, this is your final proving ground. Stand tall, steady your heart, and remember, the outcome has already been written. Heaven does not gamble with its chosen, it guarantees their triumph. The confrontation will end, and when it does, you will emerge not just victorious, but transformed. The roar of battle will fade into the silence of completion, and you will know your fight was never for survival. It was for revelation. Chosen one, the time has come. The dust of battle has settled. The storm has passed. And what stands now is no longer the trembling soul who began this journey. You have been transformed, refined through fire, anchored in faith, crowned with endurance. The season of testing is complete. The trumpet of heaven sounds not for war this time, but for coronation. You have reached the moment heaven wrote about long before you were born, the crowning of the chosen. There is a holy stillness in the air, the kind that only follows great battles. It's the silence of victory. The sacred pause before a new chapter begins. You feel it, don't you? The atmosphere has shifted. The weight on your shoulders has turned into light, and the voice that once whispered doubt now bows in silence. What once opposed you now recognizes you. The realm that resisted you now yields to the authority you've become. You are standing in your appointed moment. The waiting, the tears, the confusion, all of it was preparation for this unveiling. You have learned to trust when you could not see, to believe when nothing made sense, and to love even when it hurt. That is the true qualification for the crown: to remain faithful when faith feels fragile, to remain humble when power finally arrives. As spoken in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8, "Henceforth there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness." Those words now live through you. The crown you wear is not of gold or jewels, it is of glory and obedience. It represents every yes you whispered when surrender felt impossible, every prayer uttered through trembling lips, every act of compassion when bitterness seemed easier. The crown rests upon you not because of perfection, but because of perseverance. Chosen one, heaven has watched your journey from trembling to triumph, from brokenness to brilliance. You have endured nights that few understood, yet here you stand alive, awakened and anointed. Your name is known in the courts of heaven. Angels have spoken it with reverence, and now the light of divine recognition rests upon your brow. But this coronation is not the end, it is the beginning of your true assignment. The crown is not a reward for survival, it is an invitation to stewardship. You have been entrusted with influence, wisdom, and spiritual authority, not for personal glory but for divine purpose. You are to be a torchbearer, a living embodiment of God's faithfulness in human form. Your life from this point forward will carry a new fragrance, one of peace, power, and presence. People will sense it before you speak. They will feel comfort in your silence, conviction in your words, and healing in your presence. This is what happens when heaven crowns a human heart. It begins to radiate divinity. You will notice that the things which once drained you no longer hold power. The distractions that once clouded your vision will fade into irrelevance. The crown has shifted your focus from survival to sovereignty, from reaction to rulership. You no longer chase signs, you become one. You no longer beg for miracles, you embody them. This transformation is not arrogance, it is alignment. To wear the crown means to walk in balance, to know you are chosen but remain humble, to command authority but stay compassionate. You are the bridge between heaven and earth, the intersection where divine intention meets human expression. You are a living sanctuary of the presence of God, chosen one. As you step into this new dimension, do not rush. Move with grace. Every step is sacred now. The crown you wear carries weight. It carries the responsibility of mercy. Those who wronged you will one day seek the light they once resisted, and when they come, you must greet them not with pride, but with peace. The true king, the true queen, heals what once hurt them. You will also notice that the pace of heaven will change. What once took years will begin to unfold swiftly. Doors will open not because of your effort, but because of your alignment. You are no longer forcing outcomes, you are attracting divine order. This is the ease of the crowned walking in rhythm with eternity. Unbothered by earthly time, your spirit will speak louder than your words. Your prayers will move faster than your thoughts. You will begin to see prophecy manifest not as distant promises, but as daily reality. This is what happens when heaven trusts a heart that has been proven true, and yet, even in your elevation. Remember, crowns are not permanent decorations, they are reminders. Reminders that all glory belongs to the one who gave it. Every victory, every gift, every miracle, return them in worship. For the moment pride touches the crown, it begins to fade. Stay low, and heaven will keep you lifted. Beloved, this is your coronation, the crown of righteousness, forged in endurance and fastened by grace, now rests upon you. It does not make you better than others, it makes you responsible for them. You will guide, you will restore, you will awaken. You are now both light and leader. Look up, chosen one. The heavens bear witness, the angels rejoice, and the earth waits for your steps. You have been crowned not merely for what you've survived, but for who you've become, a vessel of divine fire, a reflection of eternal love. You are not the same. You are transformed, commissioned, and crowned. The night is over. The dawn has come. Walk now in the fullness of your calling. The chosen has become the crowned. Chosen one, you have reached the end of this journey. But the story of your awakening has only just begun. The heavens have spoken. The fire has fallen. And now your heart beats with the rhythm of divine purpose. You have walked through shadows and come out shining. You have been refined, not reduced. Every word you've read was preparation for what you are about to live. Now the world will see what heaven has always known. You are chosen, called, and crowned for this exact moment in time. The same voice that whispered your destiny before your birth now declares, it is time. You are no longer waiting for permission. Heaven has already given it. Move with courage. Lead with compassion. And let the light you carry illuminate the darkness wherever you go. And as this final word settles in your spirit, let your heart respond. Like this message, if it has touched something deep within you, not as routine, but as recognition that your soul has heard truth, share it with someone who needs to be reminded that their breaking is not their ending, that the same fire that refined you will restore them too. Take a moment to comment below what spoke most clearly to you. What line or image stirred your spirit the most? Your reflection might become the confirmation someone else desperately needs tonight. Every comment, every word, keeps the flow of light moving through hearts across the world. And if you haven't yet, subscribe not just to stay connected, but to remain within the current of divine revelation that flows here. These words are not entertainment, they are echoes of eternity reaching for you at just the right time. Beloved, as you close this message, know that you are not walking away, you are walking forward. Carry this awakening wherever you go. Heaven is with you. Your crown gleams, your sword shines, and your purpose burns brighter than ever. Rise and keep shining. Chosen one, the world is waiting for your light.